everyone, and welcome to another video about keeping Coturnix quail. Today we are going to be focusing on eggs. Most people who keep quail are doing so for their eggs, and this makes sense especially if you live in a built-up area like a city or somewhere where you can't keep chickens, either because you don't have enough space or because they can be quite noisy. And for such little birds, quail are the perfect alternative to chickens. They lay a huge egg compared to their body size. If you compare the size of a chicken to the size of a quail, the quail egg is much bigger. And they are remarkably prolific. A good hen can give you between 250 and 300 eggs a year, which is pretty incredible. And of course the big benefit is that they are much quieter than chickens and arguably easier to maintain. So here are the answers to the most frequently asked questions that I get about keeping quail for their eggs. When will my quail start laying? So, you've bought yourself some nice young hens and you're eager to get started with egg production, but how long until they actually start to lay? Well, this is Buff, and if you're a follower of this channel, then you will know that I hatched her on the 8th of May 2020. And this is her first egg. She laid this one on June the 27th, so 7 weeks and 1 day exactly after she hatched herself. And you've got to admit, that is pretty incredible when you think that a chicken hen can take as long as 23 weeks to start laying. Quail like to get going young, and it's not surprising considering they have quite a short lifespan. But every day since the 27th of June, Buff has laid an egg without fail. And this is pretty typical of Coturnix hens. They reach sexual maturity between 6 and 8 weeks, and you're looking at them starting laying between about 7 to 10 weeks. Obviously, if you've brought hens in, then it's going to take them a couple of weeks to settle and get used to their new surroundings so that they feel comfortable enough to start laying. But so long as they're over 8 weeks of age, I would definitely expect them to start laying pretty imminently. My hen's first eggs are small. Is this normal? Yes. The first eggs that hens lay tend to be a bit weird, to be honest. They can be really small in comparison to a normal egg, as it's taking the hen a while to get into the rhythm of making and laying eggs. There can be all sorts of strange shapes and sizes. Some are long, some are short, some are really sort of stubby and almost square in shape. And some can even be laid without their shells as a soft sort of blob. This is all perfectly normal, it's just the hen getting used to laying. Eventually she will settle down and the eggs will become more uniform, and you'll find that they get larger as she matures. So the eggs that she lays in her second year will be larger than those she laid in her first. How often do hens lay? A good, healthy, well-fed Coturnix hen will lay pretty much every day during the breeding season, and this starts in spring when the number of daylight hours get above 11. And then when the days start to get shorter in the autumn time, the hens should stop laying to conserve their energy ready for the next breeding season. Now I'm sure you can see how this can be manipulated so that we can make the hens lay even through the winter months, just by supplying them with some extra light from a light bulb, for example. If you keep them in a shed, for example, you can leave the light on after it normally would go down. This will keep them laying through the winter, but bear in mind that without that break in egg production, which is hugely demanding on the hen's body, you will shorten her life quite considerably. Hens who don't get a break will only live for about 2 years, whereas hens who stop laying in winter can easily live for more like 4 or 5 years. So it's up to you. How badly do you want eggs in winter, and are you willing to sacrifice her life for it? That sounds horrific. It's not quite that bad. Do I need to give my hens a nest box? No. Domestic quail don't make use of nest boxes at all. They don't go broody or incubate their eggs, and they will lay their eggs pretty much anywhere. So a nest box is completely wasted on them. In fact, given a choice between laying an egg in a nice cozy nest box or in the mud, quail seem to invariably go for the mud. And so that also means it's wise to give them a substrate that keeps the eggs as clean as possible. I'm finding bark chippings work pretty well at the moment. Do I need to keep a male in with my hens? Only if you want to hatch the eggs. If you just want to eat lots of nice fresh quail eggs, or to sell some on maybe to your neighbours, and are happy to buy in new hens when you need them, then you don't need to keep a male quail at all. Male quail aren't bad to keep, but they can be noisy as they will call to claim their territory and to attract new hens. And they can be a bit aggressive, both with other quail and with their owner. Hens, on the other hand, are much more placid and can be kept in large groups without any fighting, so long as they have enough space to get away from each other every now and again. What do quail eggs taste like? They taste richer and slightly earthier than a chicken egg, but not as rich as a duck egg and certainly nothing like as strong as a goose egg. Quail eggs actually have a larger yolk to white ratio compared to a chicken egg, and so they have more flavour, but they can be used in exactly the same way that you would a chicken egg. You just need to factor in 5 quail eggs per chicken egg. So a recipe that uses 2 chicken eggs, you're going to need 10 quail ones. It's that sort of thing. So for the most part, keeping quail for their eggs is much the same as keeping chickens. They do need a slightly different housing setup, which I'll go through in another video. That's one that we can cover in a bit more detail, really. But just know that they lay about as many eggs as a hybrid chicken, and their eggs are comparable in terms of flavour and how you use them to chickens as well. You just need a lot more of them. But I hope you've enjoyed this little video, and if you're keeping quail for eggs, then I'd love to know your experiences with them. You know, how do you keep your flock? What do you use the eggs for? That kind of thing. Anything really, ask me anything you like. But I'll let you get back to enjoying your day. I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!